Welcome to Bay Rats and Buoys with your host, Captain Gage.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. I'm your host, Captain Gage, and this is episode number 7, and I am sitting on my boat mid-November, and I gotta say, it's a little chillier today. Today we're lucky we're not even hitting 50 degrees today, so it's getting a little chilly down here. The hands need to be warmed up a little bit. I can feel that temperature dropping. The water temp is dropping. Right now behind me it says it's about 53 degrees. I'm getting reports from different electronics in different areas, about 49 degrees, averaging between 49 and 53. So that's the fluctuation on the surface temperature right now. So it's mid-November. And I believe we got a full moon coming tomorrow on the 15th. Today's Thursday, November 14th. And the merchandise is in. A lot of people reached out and asked for it, and we have sent it out already. So if you did ask, it's on its way to you, and we appreciate that. And the merchandise, if you want a Bay Rats and Buoys podcast sticker, it is available. You just got to reach out to me at sandcitycharter.com. I'm giving them away right now, guys. So merch, we're going to start giving stuff away. And we're going to have a few giveaways here on the podcast as well. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. You hit the notification bell. We are trying to build up the YouTube channel as we build up the downloads for the podcast. So I really appreciate you guys. And I got to give a shout out to the Facebook admins. I really appreciate you guys that approve the post in your Facebook groups because it's not just about fishing. It's not just about boating. It's about everything in the maritime community. I mean, if you name it, we're going to discuss it. We're going to go over it. So there's a little bit of everything, a little bit of everything for everybody. So I think that's what we're going to try to cover here in this podcast. And I really appreciate the Facebook groups. You guys are awesome. And the comments and all the positive feedback that I am getting. And speaking of positive feedback, I got a lot of positive feedback from the fuel dock over here, and gave Rich a sticker. He put it, I told you last week, he put it on the window of the fuel dock, and they close tomorrow. That's it. So I got a charter tomorrow morning, and I'm going to head over there right after this podcast and fill my boat up for the last time at the fuel dock that I fill up and work next to all year long. So I got to give a shout out to everybody over at the Windcoat Fuel Dock. I appreciate you, Rich and Will and Cameron and all the other new guys that joined in this year. There were a whole lot of new employees, and just giving you guys a shout out and saying thank you for all your hard work and your efforts getting me the ice and the gas as needed. You guys were awesome, and we had a great year. We really did. This was an epic year. It was an epic season. It's still going on, which is kind of cool. It's mid-November. Usually right around now, I would start to see the seals in the harbor in the next day or two in the bay. And I'd be happy to see them and wrap it up and say, all right, because I'm on a center console. So let's face it, you're not turning on the heat and hiding behind, hiding in the cabin. So when it drops down to 50 degrees, that's really my threshold. Once it gets down to these mornings, it's going to be 35, 36, 37, 42. In the morning is a high in the morning these days. We still have a few days left where it's going to be 60 degrees. That's kind of cool for November. No complaints there. So I am going to hold off on pulling the boat out until the end of November. I'm going to take it out right around Thanksgiving. And that's a week later for me. Usually I'm out by the 21st. It's the third week in November I'm done. But I think we're getting a little warmer weather. The temperature of the water is snapping. It is dropping. So this is going to affect the bite. We're going to see how it affects the bite right now on the other side of Long Island on the South Shore. I mean, the shoreline is just lit up with bass destroying bait, whether they're on the sand eels, the bunker, the shad, you name it, they're feeding, and the squid. So the guys are squid fishing here as well, too. But right now, the South Shore is just it's uncomparable to what we have going on here on the North Shore. And I'll know tomorrow morning when I get out there to look for some more birds and see the activity and see what's happening, because it is mid-November when I pull into the bay, and there's hundreds of birds working, and it's like nothing you've ever seen before. So that does come this time of the year. I'm just waiting for it. Haven't seen it yet, so I'm pretty excited about that. And that's what this time of the year brings, the excitement level of you get out there, you don't know. We're going to shoot across tomorrow to the Connecticut side of the Long Island Sound. We're going to do some black fishing. We're taking guys out to go tog fishing, and Northport High School alumni, So I get a lot of guys because I'm in the Huntington area. I get a lot of guys that I went to high school with, and, I grew up here in Northport, went to Northport High School, and it's kind of cool when you get a phone call from somebody you don't know, and, you're getting that reunion from, people that were a grade below you, a grade above you, and you get to talk about the good old days growing up and doing the stuff that we did here in Northport, which is kind of cool. So I love taking guests out like that. To me, that's exciting and fun because I'm sure we have some mutual acquaintances and friends from the past that we're both friends with. So we'll figure that all out tomorrow. But in the meantime, we're going to head across to Connecticut, fish some of the wrecks and the reefs, and get on some nice keeper tog, which the blackfish bite has been really good this year. I mean, every trip you've gone out, you've caught keepers, you've worked through your shorts, and you got the keepers. But and Charles this week, speaking of Northport and local guys, Charles is one of our buddies. He shoots out with my mate a lot on what we call the Deadly Dinghy. It's on Instagram, Corey with a K. And you got Corey's Customs. You can probably get to the Deadly Dinghy from there on Instagram. But the Deadly Dinghy is this black inflatable that Corey uses to get to and from his boat. And Charles is one of his buddies. Moved into the area here, has a house in the area, and last week he nailed a 9-pounder from the dock. They weren't even on the dinghy, and kudos to Charles because that's a great catch. A 9-pound tog from the dock is just a great fish, but just goes to show you guys, if you get on any structure, you can find those fish because when the tog season starts here on the North Shore, we catch them right here from the dock, from any dock. You can go to any dock, and you don't have to be on rocks to find them. Okay, so in the beginning of the season, at October 11th, you get green crab down at any of the town docks, any of the docks, I guarantee you're going to find blackfish. I don't know what size you're going to find, but I could show you the videos that there are some real big ones, and Charles will show you too. We got a great picture of him on the website holding up a 9-pound tog. He was in this week's fishing report. So that preceded this podcast in all the Facebook groups. So if you guys check that out, really appreciate it. The traffic there is doing real well. And you can tell somebody went by marina this time of the year. You're going to get that a little more because they don't really listen to the no-wake zone. They see the boats in the marina, and they really don't care. They zip right by. So if boats are rocking in here, that means I got a boat that just went by that totally waked the whole harbor. And I didn't hear any sirens going by, so it definitely wasn't an emergency vehicle, just somebody probably had to go to the bathroom, do a number 2, and they're in a rush. That's the excuse I'm going to give them. But that's what's going on this time of the year. And like we talked about the South Shore there, I mean, it's just unbelievable from Long Beach to Fire Island Inlet. It is just lights out. People are videotaping from the apartments and the condos that they live in Long Beach and videotaping the entire stretch of beach with their phone and posting the video. And you see 40 boats and just bass splashing around every boat. It doesn't matter where you are, you're on them. So that's really cool to see. And that's what the fall run is all about, is getting in on that action. So guys that have never caught striped bass are catching striped bass. And I see those posts because, guys, I'm in the Facebook groups. I'm in every Facebook group that you're in. If you have one to recommend to me, that's fine. But a good chance you look for me in it. You're going to see my posts are in there. And I am actively reading and seeing what's going on. So I see a lot of the shorts, a lot of the bigs, and a lot of the overs, and guys catching some really nice fish, and from the shore and from boats. So a lot of times when the guys can't get close enough to the fish from the shore, you're going to see the boats right there in the distance hooking up. And, that was the frustration. I surf fished. I did it a lot. It was a long walk. You put in a lot of effort, a lot of hours getting pounded by the waves, and there's a big difference between surfcasters and boaters, and there's a lot of even in the Facebook groups. There was just a funny post recently. Guy took a picture of a guy going by in a boat, and he zipped by real close to the shoreline where everybody was surfcasting, and you could hook up with lines and do certain things, and they were threatening and throwing weights, and that happens. That's this time of the year. You can piss a lot of people off, and I don't get that here on the North Shore because we don't have a ton of people fishing from the beach. When we leave, we don't need to be near the beach, and where we do go into the back shallow water, there's, rarely anybody fishing back there. It's not like the South Shore where they're fishing from public beaches like Gilgo and Democratic Point and Sore Thumb, and where boats are actually, traffic is going to be forced to pass by in an inlet where a lot of people might be on the point fishing and piss a lot of people off. So that was funny to see in the Facebook group. And it's got to be in one of the striped bass groups that I'm in, because this time of the year, the striped bass fishing and the tog fishing, those are the groups that are most active. And I'm in a lot of spearfishing videos now, thanks to Jacob and Kyle, which we spoke about in episode number 6. And Jacob was in episode 4. So spearfishing is a new thing to me, and I'm pretty excited for the springtime. I really can't wait to get out there in May. I'm going to say the water temp is going to be right for me to get in there and check it out. Although right now, that gin clear water here is just, it's very tempting. It's very enticing to want to get in the water because the visibility is like we never have it here. So that's kind of cool. And big shout out to the spearfishing groups too. You'll see me in there. You know, I'm new. I pointed that out in my videos, and I thank a lot of the admins, for the accepting to the group and letting me join the group and blah, blah, blah. And any of the admins that want to reach out and talk about bay rats and buoys and help promote and do those things, reach out to me. I'll be happy to talk to you and get in touch with me at sandcitycharter.com. And again, we'll be giving away free merchandise. So we're starting with the stickers, guys. That's the first thing. You can go to sandcitycharter.com and we'll get those out to you. You just got to fill out the form because obviously I need your address to send it to you. And you have to go to sandcitycharter.com to fill it out to get in touch. And speaking about Jacob and spearfishing, we mentioned that Jacob's also an oyster farmer. Now, this time of the year, talking about that water temperature, guys, it's deadly. The water temperature right now is 100% fatal. So if you fall into the water, you better damn sure have a PFD on. If you do not have a personal flotation device, your chances of survival are slim to none. And we all know the phrase, slim's home sleeping. And this is not a good time of the year to mess around and fall in the water. And it happens. And boats do sink and boats do take on water. And you really, if you're out fishing this time of the year, you really got to take that into consideration when being the only person on a boat or having people on your boat and knowing what can happen out there and being prepared for it. So recently, I keep hearing it on Channel 16. So again, guys, I monitor 16 every day. I'm down here listening to it. And, I hear, and every day the Coast Guard is, putting out a announcement for a fishing vessel in Milford that is partially submerged. And it happened, I think on November 4th, just guessing on some of the press that it got. But a gentleman in Milford did die. So I believe there were 3 fishermen on the boat. You'd have to go read the story, but if you want to read about it, my point to it all is when you fall in that water, you don't have a lot of time. You don't. And the first thing that's going to happen when you fall into cold water is the cold water gag reflex that you're going to have, and you're going to want to and start gasping for air, and that's the downfall to all your energy and everything that goes on. That's where it all starts to go wrong right away. So what they say to do is to hold your breath for 5 to 7 seconds. The minute you fall into cold water, it's just like going into the cold shower or cold pool. You get that, you have to beat that initial cold breathing reflex and hold your breath. That's how you do it. You have to keep your head above water, and you have to hold your breath for the first 5 to 7 seconds and continue to do that in intervals to try to beat that cold water breathing reflex that happens, that you're going to try to breathe, and you're going to hyperventilate. And that's going to lead to you using up more energy because you don't have a lot of time. They say you have about 10 minutes of moving your arms. And so you want to remain as still as possible to maintain your body heat and the core temperature, because they say a lot of people, when they fall into cold water and they pass away, that it isn't from hypothermia. That hypothermia almost takes like an hour to set in, because hypothermia is when the core temperature of your body becomes fatal. And most people are falling in the cold water, and it's heart attacks and breathing and drowning. And you're drowning because in 10 minutes, you can't move your arms anymore. So you are not treading water. So if you don't have a personal flotation device, to even get into that fetal position where you keep your head above water and you pull your knees into your chest and you sit there, and you got to think about how you're getting help. Now, that boat in Milford did sink, so they were on a boat that was taking on water and going down. They did. The reason I mentioned Jacob and even got into this topic was they were the people that were rescued, and were rescued because of an oyster boat. Okay, somebody that's out there is an oyster farmer, and this time of the year, the guys that are going to be out there every day, the clammers and the oyster farmers and commercial guys, those are the guys that are going to be out there working. So if you think you're going to be able to call on a cell phone and make that phone call to somebody while you're in the water and your hands are cold. I'm sitting on my boat, it's 50 degrees, my hands are cold. Using my phone is not even going to be fun. But guys, all seriousness is you better be out there with some form of VHF radio to hail somebody close enough to you that can come rescue you, because you don't have a lot of time. And it's as simple as turning it on. It's already on channel 16. I don't even got to look at it. I know it's on channel 16, and I'm pressing the button, and I'm doing a Mayday call. And this is your lifeline to other boats in the area. And again, this does not have a lot of reach. Those guys were 2 miles offshore at Milford, in Milford, Connecticut, when it recently happened. I'm going to go ahead and shut this off now. But you should have some form of VHF radio contact with a handheld that you could take into the water. This floats. It's waterproof. And this is what you want to use, as opposed to grabbing your iPhone that the minute you go in this water, you know what's going to happen with this. And you're not going to be in a good position calling relatives, telling them that you need help, when you should be able to get the Coast Guard or the closest captain to you, to respond on channel 16, which we all will. We're going to stop what we're doing and we're going to come help you. That's what a captain is going to do. You can almost guarantee that. That's a code out here on the water. So that's something that we live and die by. And we don't want to see anybody get hurt out here. It happens. I get it. But again, kudos to the oyster boat that did show up and save the other guys, because this water temperature is fatal. And if you are going to boat this time of the year, I think you should go online and start reading about, what to do in cold water and learn. I mean, I just gave you some basics so that you have an idea, but it's not fun this time of the year. It's cold. So you got to be careful. Safety first, guys, and that's what we're all about. Safety first. Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt out here. We're going to catch fish. This is recreational. Nobody has to do this. We don't need the fish we're catching to eat. We can all go to the fish market tonight and buy whatever we want and go home and eat whatever we want. So we're doing this because the tug is the drug. We love doing this. This is what we do. In the wintertime, I'm standing in a river. There's snow on the banks. There's deer walking by, and I'm fly fishing in a river. And my older kids are looking at me like, are you crazy? There's snow on the ground. It's what we do. We're into the fishing thing. If we like it, you love it, you're addicted to it, you want to do it all year round, which is something that I'm working on, which hopefully I'll have some great news through the wintertime for you guys for next year. And we got to fish through these cold months. So you got to have gloves. Oh, that's another thing. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, Corey or somebody will get on the boat and they forget to have gloves. I have extra pair of gloves all the time. And not even that they have insulation. You don't even need I have insulated gloves for me. I'm the captain. I also have non-insulated gloves. But you got to have some form of gloves to put on to protect yourself even from the wind. And now you can throw a hand warmer in there and you're sitting cush. You're happy. Your hands are warm. That's the most important part, keeping your head warm, keeping your hands warm, keeping your feet warm. So this time of the year, those are the things. When I get on the boat tomorrow morning, there's a real good chance I'm wearing long johns. And it's going to be cold in the morning. You get up now, you go out 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, it's freezing out. It's cold. So when it gets cold, I'm happy the season's coming to an end. We caught enough fish. We had an amazing year. But, again, this is the end of the season for us, and everybody sticks around for the fall run. If you're a fisherman, this is the best time of the year. You're going to get out there and be rewarded like we were last week. We got into 5-foot swells in the fishing report. Previous to this, you heard me talk about, we went around the corner to get out of the bay and head into the sound, and we knew with the wind direction, there was wind out of the east, and we knew we were going to have some rough conditions. But we knew once we got through those rough conditions and turned into one of the other bays, we knew it was going to be flat like glass and like a lake. And the minute we made that turn and got in there, and it was flat like glass and like a lake, the birds were going crazy. The fish were jumping out of the water. It was like, not only did we know if we went around those 5-foot waves that we had to get through to get to the other side, but we were rewarded for doing that. And when that happens, that's when this time of the year you say to yourself, okay, this is great. This is why I do what I do. This is why I'm out here fishing. And you can get some real windy days. Tuesday, just 2 days ago, it was blowing 35 down here. I mean, it was howling. And when it's howling like that, trips are getting canceled. People aren't going out fishing, and safety first. Again, we're going out for recreational fishing. This isn't mandatory. We don't have to do that. We don't have to catch them. So tomorrow, we're going to shoot across to Connecticut and fish for blackfish. So this time of the year, the black fishing and the striped bass fishing, you got guys squid fishing in the harbor now, and they're even catching shad. So the shad are here. Peanut bunker, spearing. I'm still seeing them here in my marina right now. I was just going to throw the cast net because I saw a whole big school of them, and I just wanted to see what size they were. So I'm probably going to put the GoPro down underwater, and I'll see that way as opposed to having to throw the cast net and get all wet and have to put on grundins to do all that. But I do like to see the bait and keep track for the captain's log or where the bait is and what's going on. You got the sand eels, you got bunker, you got shad. So the fish are gorging, and you see some of them, you pick them up. You see them in the Facebook groups. You see guys are catching fish. They have big, fat bellies. Granted, you could be getting some females that are pregnant as well, and but they look like they're gorging. They're just feeding, and it's lights out for them right now. They are just feeding in a frenzy on the South Shore. Here, not so much. I'm not seeing it as much as I'm seeing the videos and the pictures of the South Shore. But squid fishing, the guys are putting the lights down here at nighttime. So I am seeing, and I heard that it picked up. It ramped up a little bit. I still have not dropped the light and started squid fishing yet at nighttime. I figured I would wait till it was kind of like lights out and give it a shot. I really did. Truth is, I really don't want to ink up the boat. I got charters, and I don't want to ink things up. And I know you can keep them in the water, put them in a bucket. You can get around that, but I was hoping to jump on somebody else's boat and ink that boat up as opposed to mine. So that was the thought process behind catching the squid, and it's a ton of fun. I can't wait to do it, and I'm going to drop the light in the water. Every time I leave, I pass the boat ramp on the way out of here for the town ramp, and right at the point of both ramps, guys have the green lights in, and usually over at the town docks, they're running generators and the lights are in, and once that's happening, they're here, and I see the boats on my way back in at nighttime. They're off in the harbor here, and they're usually moored up or anchored up over there, just west of where I'm sitting right now, and squid fishing. So I figured if they're there and they're there, they got to be in between both places, and I figured I'd just drop the light right here and see what's going on, see if I can get you guys a cool video of some squid in the area with the green lights. So the safety this time of the year is a big thing, and dressing appropriately is probably the most important. And I said I'll be wearing long johns tomorrow. It's the second time I'm putting on long johns to come on my boat. I really am a shorts and a T-shirt guy. Like, I live for that time of the year. I wear flip-flops from May until mid-October, and there's a big stripe on my foot. I have that tan line on my foot because of every day it's flip-flops. Doesn't matter what boat I'm driving. I'm always in my flip-flops. Very rare. Unless I charter somebody's boat where somebody hires me to captain their boat. That's maybe when I'll throw on, something a little bit nicer than the flip-flops. Anyway, dressing appropriately is the most important thing this time of the year. And getting out there and staying warm is the head, the hands, the feet. And if you can keep everything in between, there you go. Captain Jimmy passing me behind in the the James Joseph. So that's the big charter boat. Heads out of Huntington here. And he's just coming in from black fishing as well. So even he had to complain about the weather. That, you got windows. You got windows of opportunity. You got to get out there. Sometimes it's rough out there, and it makes it a little harder for the bite. And it's just a matter of getting out there, guys. So the days are numbered here. We are mid-November. We got a full moon tomorrow. And let's see what that brings as far as the bait and the bite and how it affects it, whether it's good or bad for the captain's log. That's it. I just keep the intel coming in and jotting it down on the captain's log, and that's really all you got to go by every year is what happened. And you got to be out there to fish it and see it and feel it and know what's happening. Or you're going to read about reports from guys like me that get out there and do it. That's the only way you're going to know. So I like the hands-on experience and boating this time of the year. And hopefully nobody will need any help out there. So it is slowing down for us. There's only a few more boats in the harbor here. You can see all the boats on the moorings. It's really the season's coming to a close. And the only boats that are in my marina right now are fishing boats. You look around. I see a wave runner or two. Still got their covers on it. And they're going to have to get on that to get it out of here and drive it over to the ramp. And they're in for a cold treat because their feet are going to be freezing in this water temperature. It is cold. So the only boats that are still in the water here are fishing boats. Very rare to see any more bow riders. I think the bow riders are all out. They're wrapped. The whole parking lot is packed with wrap boats. And that'll be next. Maybe next week's podcast will be a little bit more about the winterization and wrapping it up because I think we're only going to have 2 weeks left. And we're going to have to do a Turkey Day podcast, obviously. And next week, I'm hoping we still get a few days in the 60s. I'm hoping to get at least 1 or 2 more boat podcasts in. I was in the studio yesterday, and I was contemplating whether I was going to do it in the studio and just get it done yesterday, or do I wait and I come down to the boat today. I know there's going to be cloud cover. There's not going to be any sun. You can see I'm not wearing any sunglasses. There's no sun shining on me. There's no warmth to today whatsoever. It's just cool air. And luckily, it's blowing a little bit out of the north. It's only gusting to 9 and blowing like 5 or 6. And at least the console behind me is deadening some of that wind. I still have 2 sweatshirts on. I didn't gain any weight. That's 2 sweatshirts. And that's really this time of the year. So, bass fishing, tog fishing, squid fishing, and wrapping up the season here. We're coming to a close, the fall run. But it's in full effect. If you're not catching fish right now, then you're not getting your lines in the water because you pretty much can go anywhere on the South Shore and beaches on the North Shore. The bass, they're around the entire island right now feeding on the bait that's here. So this really was an epic year for us. And we have so many great stories to tell and so many great videos to share with you that we will share them. I will edit them. I've already put there's already highlight reels that I've made and a ton of stuff and comments and, songs that were played while guys were catching fish and we were queuing songs up and we were laughing like never before. And some of the trips were just so epic that I have to share them with you. I also have to share the shark fishing. I mean, it comes into play a lot where recently somebody was just telling me in the studio, that their good friend was flying a drone out and flying the bait out. And I was just like, yeah, bro, I did that for 2 summers on the beach, caught 53 sharks that I tagged. And the video footage that I have, I mean, my kids were 7 and 9 years old catching 6-foot duskies and browns and sandbars and catching sharks. So, most people are taking 7 and 9-year-olds snapper fishing. And my kids, they haven't snapper fished in years. In fact, my son was 12 this year and outfished my mate and one of the best fishermen, one of my buddies. He outfished Corey and Kenny with flutter spoons. And hooking up on the flutter spoon, it's easy to drop the fish. And recently somebody just posted a thing asking what's the craziest thing you caught while you were striped bass fishing. And I had a flutter spoon, which I just mentioned to you, that I actually got the treble hook into a really old Coke bottle, and it has barnacles all over it. And I think I'm going to post it and ask how many people would actually drink the contents of this Coke bottle. What would it take? What do we got to give you? Is it $1,000? Is it $10,000? Is it $100,000? Is it $1 million? What is it going to take for you to drink the contents of what's in this Coke bottle right now as I caught it? But how I even got a treble hook that's on a floater spoon. If anybody knows what a floater spoon is, it's just a 9-inch spoon with a treble hook hanging below. And how did that treble hook get down to the bottom and get into the mouth of the Coke bottle enough that I could, with resistance and everything else, lift this thing up with drag on it? I knew it was something from the bottom. I thought it was a rock or, some sort of a, something, a granite grouper. And I'm reeling it in, and I get you'll see the picture. It's in the, actually, I'd have to share it. It's in the Facebook group, but I can put it up on sandcitycharter.com if you want to see the Coke bottle I'm talking about. That was definitely the oddest catch of something that we pulled out of the water. We've all pulled up old reels and some old rods and, doing some, you get the jig to the bottom and you grab something. It happens. You pull up some fun old stuff. But getting it into a Coke bottle was I don't even know how that happened. I don't think I could do that looking at the bottle and trying and doing it. So, to me, that was an incredible feat and one that I posted to share with the rest of the world. Anyway, that is the close to the season. 2 weeks. That's it. It's over. So I think we're going to have to close out episode number 7 here at Bay Rats and Buoys. And I'm going to try to do as many more episodes as I can from the boat, guys. I really am. A little chilly today. My hands are going into the pocket. And I went and warmed up. I set up the equipment, and then I went up and sat by the heater for a little bit and said, all right, I'm going to warm up. That was a little chilly. This way I come down here, I'm not freezing and angry. I don't want to be angry on the podcast. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy tuning in every week. We're going to try to get some more guests. I don't know if I'm going to get guests on the boat because this is a little chilly right now to ask somebody to come down and sit here. I think we'll do the guests in the studio, and that's kind of why I'm putting that off because doing these by myself, I can just come down, spur of the moment, bang it out, and put it up. There's zero editing. This is totally unscripted. It's raw. I don't edit a damn thing. If I make a mistake or if I cough or whatever, there's no editing. I hit the GoPro. I hit record. I hit record on the board and record the audio, put them two together and put it up on the internet for you guys to see. So that's the rawness to it. That's the excitement level for me. I don't have to edit anything, and that's fun. Makes it easier for me. So this will be up in a few minutes. It's Thursday afternoon. Water temp is 53 right behind me, averaging to 49 degrees here in the harbor. For any of you guys that are squid fishing, I know the average temperature that they like is between 50 and 55, so the water temp is dropping drastically with these cold nights. We're all going to worry about water freezing in our blocks and cold water soon and having to put antifreeze and wrapping these boats up and closing up the season. So I think that's going to be a little bit of next week's podcast is what we do here on the North Shore and what we do here on the East Coast as this season comes to an end. And I hope you guys download. If you have any friends that are in your fishing groups or in your text messages and you want to shoot them a text and say, hey, yo, check out this link, Bay Rats and Buoys. It's about fishing and boating, and we're going to keep it real positive and fun, guys, throughout the end of the season here. And we'll get into the gear and the new equipment and the new electronics in the wintertime, and we'll be at all the boat shows, and we will be traveling down south and doing some podcasts on location while we're fishing down south. So that's going to be a lot of fun. You'll want to tune into those, and I'm definitely going to have some special guests that I collaborate on those trips. We've already spoken about it, so bringing the equipment this is so easy. It's less than a suitcase. It's really a duffel bag, and everything's with me to do what I need to do to produce this podcast, so that's kind of cool. It's not a big production. Doesn't take anything. I'm sitting here by myself. There's nobody helping. And so if you share it to anybody, we're going to try to build up the downloads. All right, I do make a video. The video gets a lot of views on Facebook. It's averaging between 7,000 and 9,000 views on Facebook, and it's getting a great amount of attention on Odyssey, on iTunes, on Amazon, and you name it, wherever you guys get your podcasts, you will be able to type in Bay Rats and Buoys and find it there. So go ahead and download it, share it with your buddies, let everybody know. Click that like button, hit the notification, hit the subscriptions on YouTube. We are going to grow that channel and put up a lot of tips and a lot of the equipment that I use all year long. I'm going to share with you guys some of the secrets that I have here on the boat. And they're not secrets, but they're secrets to us of the equipment the gear that we use. That is, to us, it's lights out, and we wouldn't use anything else. I mean, this is our go-to. So I'm going to show you all the stuff that we use that is our go-to gear when maybe the fish are a little more finicky and stuff like that. So that's going to be the winter episodes, and that's going to be when you think there's nothing else to talk about boating and fishing here on the East Coast. Well, there's a ton of stuff to talk about, and that's what makes the wintertime. It's going to be a lot of fun for us. So we're going to have a lot of laughs because we'll be able to have multiple people on in the studio during those episodes. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I really do. Greatly appreciate it, and I appreciate all the positive feedback. And just like Frank that I sent the sticker out to recently, he was the last one that I wrote the envelope up for. Frank said that he's a dedicated listener since the beginning. So, Frank, I really appreciate guys like you. And I'm happy to give you a shout-out here on the podcast. And if you guys want any of the merchandise that starts with the stickers, you could go to sandcitycharter.com and fill out the form and just tell me, hey, I'm requesting a sticker. And you'd have to put in your address, and I'll be happy to mail one out to you. So appreciate it, guys. Another episode of Bay Rats and Buoys in the books, episode 7. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in. Wishing everybody bent rods, tight lines, and I'll see you out on the water.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. Be sure to visit sandcitycharter.com and follow Captain Gage on all our social media channels.